Welcome to episode number 1 of the Social Business Engine digital TV show. I'm your host, Bernie Borges, and I am very excited to launch the Social Business Engine, where I'll bring you interviews with professionals from brands around the world who are willing to share their social business journey with you. You know, a social business is one who embraces the culture and technology of the social revolution. A social business intentionally engages externally as well as internally using social technologies. And a social business embraces employees as brand ambassadors and relevant content as the currency to building trust, relationships, and desirable business outcomes. On each episode of the Social Business Engine, I'm joined by a co-host who represents a product or service that serves the social business ecosystem. My first co-host is also the lead sponsor for this episode, and I'm thrilled to be joined on this inaugural episode of the Social Business Engine by Wayne St. Amand of Crimson Hexagon. Welcome, Wayne.
Thanks so much, Bernie. It is really great to be here. As Bernie said, my name is Wayne St. Amand. I'm the Executive Vice President of Marketing at Crimson Hexagon. And Crimson Hexagon is a huge believer and supporter of the concept of building and running a social business. We provide a software platform for the deep analysis of social media, which is obviously a critical component of any successful social business. So thank you, Bernie.
Awesome, Wayne. Well, we're going to hear more about Crimson Hexagon a little bit later in the show. But right now, I am really excited about our first guest on the Social Business Engine for several reasons. I want to introduce you to James Royer. James oversees all things digital and social at the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, if you don't know who the Lightning is, they're a hockey team. They're not just any hockey team. They're the 2004 Stanley Cup champions of the NHL. Now, I'm a big hockey fan, and I'm especially a fan of the Lightning. James, welcome to the Social Business Engine.
Great. Thanks for having me here, and I'm glad you're a big hockey fan as well.
Absolutely. Well, James, as you know, I've got 5 characteristics that I've identified of a social business. So let's first begin with just kind of a little overview of, first of all, explain again who the Lightning is and your specific role.
Well, as you mentioned, Tampa Bay Lightning have been in the National Hockey League for 20 years. We were the first ever franchise to move south, and we've served a specific purpose down here in that we have a lot of hockey fans who come down here who live down here now or have transplanted down here, and they've adopted the Lightning as their team. And we obviously compete against the original 6, a lot of those teams. But in my role, I oversee all the digital, as you mentioned, digital social media for the Lightning, as well as the Tampa Bay Times Forum, which is our building, and as well as the Tampa Bay Storm, or the Arena Football League. The Tampa Bay Times Forum is also a world-class concert, family show, event center, in venue. So we bring all kinds of acts inside there on a regular basis. But the Lightning really serves as our centerpiece. And we just have, like yourself, we have a very passionate fan base down here, and we really have taken, we really understand as a business and an organization across the board that social is just a key component of this and how it drives our business. And I'm happy to talk more about that today.
All right, great. Well, my co-host today, Wayne, is a Bruins fan, but we won't hold that against him.
Try not to hold that against me.
So let's begin with just kind of a high-level overview of how would you characterize the Lightning as a social business?
Well, it's really taken on its form over the last 3 years. And the watershed moment was we had a new owner come in. His name is Jeff Vinik. He is just a very dynamic owner. He understands that social is a big part of what we do. We've had to rebrand the team, and it was very much a broken brand when he came in, and how we had to structure that. Social was a big component of that, and we're kind of in that process now of we've come in. He's done a lot of things in the community to really revitalize the fan commitment to this team and show that his own personal money got put in the building. He put $50 million of his own money, no public funds, to renovate the building that he doesn't even own. And then he also committed, when he first came in, $10 million to community organizations. During every one of our home games, he gives away $50,000 to a local charity to put back in the community. And not only that, we feature that in game so that we can empower fans and our season ticket members to join the cause as well. So that's one of the aspects of it. But I think as we've kind of grown, we've seen this really big shift in how do we utilize social for generating revenue, which in our case is ticket sales, sponsorships, and merchandise sales as well. So that's a key component, and we've really made that jump over the last 2 years with our digital and social platforms to integrate all aspects of the business so that we are coming together and bringing social into the mix and saying how do we utilize this to get our message out.
Wayne, I think we've heard some pretty good executive support here for the Lightning as a social business, wouldn't you say?
Oh, there's no question about it. James, I actually have a kind of a follow-on question. You know, one of the things that you talked about is probably the holy grail for digital marketers and marketers in general, which is connecting their efforts to revenue, right? And showing and proving that what they're doing is driving revenue. You know, how have you used your social and digital channels to really drive, the fan base to spend more money with you? How have you connected that last mile of digital road to perform that?
Well, I think you asked a lot there, and it's hard to answer that in a very succinct way. But it's really become a centerpiece of how we approach business. We recognize that fans have an incredible passion for this team, but that's a small group of people. So how do we reach those other audiences and build those other audiences? And one of the things that we've done over the last year is our Social Captain program, where we invite a local influencer to come and share their experience through their own channels, and we help support them. And they're carrying that message out further than we would ever have carried out ourselves. And we're engaging their passion for the team to share it amongst their circles, their circles of influence. So,
who was your favorite social captain last year, James?
We had a social captain by the name of Bernie Borges, who just did a phenomenal job for us. So,
I just had to throw that in there.
But that's a great point too. You bring up is that your excitement for the team shows in what you said, and we're trying to capture that.
Every other person that I watched in that role had outstanding excitement, enthusiasm, and it was all genuine.
Yep. So I guess, Wayne, to answer your question a little deeper, where we're going as a social business is we're still getting there. We're still moving along that process. And one of the big next steps are, for us specifically, is to really fully understand who the customers are and really understand our products and how they want to interact with our products. One of the things that we're really excited about as an organization, in the last 6 months, we've instituted our own data analytics team that inside the organization, who reports to our Chief Revenue Officer, and they're tasked with really understanding all aspects of the business, and not just social media followers, but it's email, it's text database, it's Ticketmaster information. We have a great partnership with Ticketmaster. We can understand a lot about our customers, and now it's putting all that together, and so it's not siloed, but we can then interact and engage with them in real time.
Oh, that's great. It sounds like you're really integrating systems across the business. You're taking the approach of considering people, process, and technology. And there's no question for a successful integrated effort of social business, you need to factor in all three.
Hey, Wayne, did you catch that this data analyst person reports to the Chief Revenue Officer?
I did.
So that's not a marketing role then?
It's not a marketing role anymore. But it's very much still a marketing role. So there's really no divisions. As long as we're getting the work done, that marketing role still serves a purpose well of the marketing and everything we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So that's kind of speaks to the issue of enterprise-wide marketing. It's not siloed in the marketing department, right? Okay. Let's talk a little bit about employee branding. You know, in a conventional company that's not in the sports industry, that doesn't have players that go out every day putting the uniform on and become brands themselves. For those companies, the employees, some of those anyway, can become the brands. In your case, it's largely the players. Speak to that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, we have a great example of Steven Stamkos, who is one of the preeminent young players in the National Hockey League right now. Just a phenomenal talent, tremendous work ethic, and a great person overall. He has over 250,000 Twitter followers, which is far more than what the Lightning even have. He has a strong brand, especially in his native country of Canada, where he's from. A lot of people recognize him as a celebrity in Canada, and they'll follow him around, do paparazzi kind of thing. But he has a very strong following. And I think in that role, we really embrace our athletes to say, hey, this really should be a part of what you're doing. You might want to consider this as a part of being social to extend, one, your own brand, but our brand as well. And we'll work very closely with you in that. And I think what's interesting in the National Hockey League is you have guys who, like our Marty St. Louis. And as you know, you're a big fan. Marty is just a phenomenal talent. He's been doing it for a long time. He's 38 years old now. He won the scoring title last year, and as the NHL's leading scorer, and still performing at a high level. But he doesn't embrace social media. And that's part of his personality. But you see a lot of these guys coming up in the system who are younger guys who are you're seeing an evolution of the process. You get more and more guys involved in the mix. And so they come in, and we're working with them to say, this is how you can be utilizing your social media to really do really cool things. And we also have a coach who's on social media, and our assistant coaches are on social media. So this has been a change over the last couple of years, how it's evolved very quickly. We ran a contest called Lightning Strikes, where we asked people to capture pictures or images of lightning striking throughout the area. And we have a lot of fun submissions. People getting high voltage boxes, or catching lightning here during a storm, which happens here a lot in Tampa. One of our players actually tweeted it out as well, which is great. It just shows that the great fan engagement, but it connects that player with our fans, which is just incredibly important.
I want to come back to the social captain thing, James, because Wayne, you heard that I had the opportunity to be social captain at one of the games, and it was a lot of fun. It was a blast, and I walked away from that experience not just having a great time, which I did, but the marketing mind in me was thinking, how can other companies that are not in the sports industry, that don't have players as brands, how can they use this concept? Maybe you can actually explain a little bit more in some more detail, like what does a social captain do, and how do you integrate them in? Then have you thought about how other companies outside of sports might use that concept?
Yeah, really, go back to social captain. The idea was to engage influencers and carry our message further than what we could do. And how do we do that? And it would just say, hey, well, why not invite these people to a game and have them come and experience what it means to be a Lightning fan that may not regularly come to games, and share behind the scenes. What we know in the sports world, in the sports industry, is that from a content standpoint, people want to break down the walls. They want to go inside. They still want that storytelling aspect of things. And I think that's what we're trying to give fans, and we're trying to capture that with our social captain as well. Come and experience what's it like to be at a game in a forum. What's it like to see our Tesla coils go off? We have 2 Tesla coils in our building that actually shoot lightning off. So what is that like, and how do you explain that? And you as a social captain can explain that much better than I can as a branded person within the brand. And you're going to carry that in a different level and carry different ways. So that's what we're looking for. I think to answer your question about how different brands can do it is break down the walls. I think where I've been in the digital industry over the last 13 years in my career has been around storytelling and content. And if you have really good storytelling and content, and you can show people what's behind the scenes, that's one way to really capture that and build your audience, is tell them who you are as a brand. Tell your brand story. Tell them about what happens. Tell them about those people on the front line who are volunteering their time outside the office for great causes. Talk about, and not doing it in a self-serving manner, but doing it in a way that, hey, we know what? This is what kind of things that we need to be highlighting, and how do we get other people involved in those things?
So, Wayne, in your world, you probably have run across organizations at the global level that are doing something kind of similar. Have you seen anything that kind of mirrors that whole brand evangelism concept?
Well, so yes, but I'm gonna speak about the term in a more general sense, which is that oftentimes people forget, whether they be corporate clients or agency clients, that social and social interaction is about people. It's about people inside the organization, people outside the organization. It's about the genuine promotion via sort of a human-based angle and engagement with people. And the more genuine you are on social, the more likely you are to engage with people, to connect with people. And I think when companies are first starting out, they don't have that in mind. They don't have the sense of, I need to be genuine, I need to be human. And we all are humans. We're leveraging technology to connect to one another and to collaborate. But I think as people take that journey toward becoming a truly social business, it starts to step away from the technology a little bit and realize that the technology is just an enabler of good old-fashioned human connection and engagement.
Yeah, I heard Brian Solis actually talk about this recently, Wayne, and he said that you become a social business when your social media strategies align with the overall business objectives and they're working in principle. And I think that's a great point you bring up because that's what we're trying to do. It's not about using Instagram to do a certain task. It's how do we support the overall business goals, which is our revenue generation. And how do we do that? And how do we engage fans where they're at? And I think what you said there just rings true for how we approach social media as well.
So, Wayne, one of the things that you and I have discussed many times is the concept of, what is success, right? So you're on the journey like every other business that acknowledges that they're on the social business journey. So maybe you can speak to some of the successes and, to whatever level you're comfortable, James, some of the failures or lack of successes along the way. Because the purpose of the Social Business Engine show is to share your journey so that others around the world can get some inspiration, learn, and kind of take away with what they might put into place in their organization.
Yeah, great point. So I think some of we talk about failures and things that we maybe teams do wrong or that we've done wrong, and I think it comes back to the same common theme: we made it too complex, or we made it too hard for a person to interact with us, and so we may do like some sort of contest and say it's like fans just don't get it. And it's like, how do if they have to think about it, you've already lost.
Right.
So you want to keep it as simple as possible, but I think the other time is keep it genuine and authentic. There's a lot of movement in the sports world to be kind of the snarky tweets, kind of the combative, and they're trying to have fun with it. You got to know who you are as a brand. And that wouldn't work for the Tampa Bay Lightning because, one, who we are as a brand, and I don't think our fans would rally around that. They expect certain things from us, and they expect us to be world-class in all that we do. So we're going to take that approach when how we interact with, whether it be the competitive side of things or how we deal with other teams if they put something at us. We're going to be very respectful of them as opponents, but sometimes know who we are as a brand. And I think some teams have kind of strayed off that because they want to be a certain thing, and they've kind of failed in that regard. So it's really understanding what your voice is, and really what your approach is. I think, as you guys talked earlier too, and Wayne said it himself, it's about the people who own it. And Dunkin' Donuts does a great job of that, in that their mantra is that we don't own social media, our fans do. And they operate around that principle, and they do it beautifully. And they also make very good, delectable treats as well.
Maybe you can help me get them on the show. Wayne, anything to add to that?
No, I think that James captured it really, really well. The more human, the more genuine we can be, the more that the brand reflects who you really are and who your fans are, just the better you're going to do, and the more engagement you will drive from that genuineness.
Totally agree. Now, James, again, this is a journey. You're on the show because you're well on the journey and you've got a great story to share with those who are watching the show or listening while they're working out in a podcast format. But what I'd like to ask you to do, because we're getting short on time, we're down to a little bit over a minute now, what advice would you give to those that are early in the journey, and they're not as far along as you, but they know they want to take this journey. They want to make the transition from social media to social business.
Right. Well, I think we talked about it earlier too. Just make sure what you're doing on channels are not about technology, it's about your objectives. focus on
Business
your
objectives.
business objectives first.
Not just marketing objectives.
Correct. And the analogy I would take is a toolbox. You have different tools to do different things, but really you're trying to build something. So what tools are going to be the best to approach to do that? And I think the crucial part that we always talk about is just listening to them. And if you see something where they give you a nice shout out, hey, acknowledge that. And they're going to carry that to their fans. It's funny how simple I see somebody on Twitter, simple Twitter interaction. They'll favorite, they'll tweet it, and they'll retweet it. And they'll do 3 actions from one comment they get from you. And it's just, that's simple. But if they do have a problem, reach out to them. And make them an evangelist based upon how you've interacted with them and how you've made them feel. And I think that's the first steps in really growing that up. And then I think the last part of it is continually look to what kind of content can I put on social media that they're going to enjoy, whether it be informative, entertaining, but it's make sure it's within your brand as well.
Yep, absolutely. You mentioned listening. That is a great segue for our SBP. Do you know what our SBP is?
Crimson Hexagon.
Well, it's Social Business Promo. And that's where, Wayne, you get to be the SBP, our Social Business Promo. What have you got for us on our inaugural event?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Bernie, and thank you, James. In the spirit of the Social Business Engine show, we really want to focus on providing kind of continuing education for folks who are watching, because we know that folks who are watching or listening are interested in becoming more of a social business. And one of the things that we've put together specifically for the show that's available for download online is an ebook. As many of the viewers and listeners are marketers, we know that marketers often have to go through rebranding exercises. And we've put together a detailed ebook that discovers or helps them discover why social media analysis can be a critical first step before you begin the rebranding process, to gather that vital consumer intelligence that can inform all of the steps you take next. And I just want to let people know what URL they can go to find that ebook. It's at crimsonhexagon.com/SBE show. Again, crimsonhexagon.com/SBE show, where they can get that ebook to download and view and read as they wish.
Terrific. Well, thank you, Wayne. That sounds like a terrific ebook. Those that are considering rebranding definitely need to download that ebook and consume it before they do their rebrand, and just understand the importance of analysis and listening in the social interwebs around the world. Well, that is about our wrap for our inaugural show of the Social Business Engine digital TV show. I want to thank my guest, James Royer from the Tampa Bay Lightning. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Wayne, thank you so much for being our co-host and, of course, lead sponsor. Our bandwidth sponsor is Content Marketing World, the event for content marketers around the world. And that's it for today. Until next time, don't forget to follow our hashtag SBE show. I'm your host, Bernie Borges. Until next time, we'll see you.